Attorney General Merrick Garland has appointed a special counsel to take over the investigation into the handling of several documents marked classified stemming from the Obama administration.
Now, those documents found in an office used by President Biden before he took office. But here's what's key. Other documents have also been found in his garage at his Wilmington, Delaware home. Robert Hur, now in charge of the inquiry. He's the former U.S. Attorney for Maryland. Hur was appointed to office by former President Trump. Attorney General Garland announced the appointment moments ago.
I'm here today to announce the appointment of Robert Hur as a special counsel pursuant to Department of Justice regulations governing such matters. In keeping with those regulations, I have today notified the designated members of each House of Congress of the appointment.
We're going to bring in now CBS News correspondent Adriana Diaz. She originally broke the story about the found documents. Adriana, so much has happened since you first brought this issue to light. Let's just start off with this unprecedented news. A special counsel is going to be investigating the president now. Tell us the latest.
Well, this announcement was definitely one of the possibilities for the outcomes of this preliminary review that the Justice Department was conducting. On November 2nd, when they found roughly 10 documents at the Penn Biden Center here in D.C., and that's the story that we broke on Monday, we heard from the White House that day after requests from us for more information. They said, yes, that's true. They found these documents. Everything went as the way it should have. President Biden and his lawyers followed protocol. But we also understood that there has been a preliminary review underway by the Justice Department to look at what happened. How did those documents get there? Who took them there? And key here is there potentially any criminality here? And so based on that collection of information, on that inquiry that was run out of Chicago and D.C. here, run by the U.S. Attorney in Chicago, who's also a Trump appointee, he has briefed the Attorney General. And so this is now the Attorney General taking the information and deciding further investigation is warranted, and he has appointed a special counsel because what's key here is that there has to be independence. Merrick Garland was appointed by President Biden. So Merrick Garland wants to make sure that someone else who was not a Biden appointee, not a U.S. attorney who was a Biden appointee, be overseeing this investigation. And when there is a special counsel, that comes with resources and it comes with a lot of independence. They have a lot of leeway to conduct their investigations. They're still within the Justice Department, but they have their own universe in the Justice Department. So Merrick Garland announced today a special counsel has been appointed to look into this, to see exactly what happened and if there's any criminality. And the key to determining criminality is intent. So that's what they're trying to figure out, is if anyone took these documents on purpose.
It's remarkable. The temperature there in Washington just kicked up a notch. And the timeline here is crucial because viewers must be wondering to themselves, if Adriana didn't break this with the CBS News team there in Washington earlier this week, would we have a special counsel appointed by Thursday? It was once all the threads were pulled and questions were asked that now there appears to be a whole hustle to do something about it. But as the Attorney General just laid out, these things were discovered in November and in December. You've spelled out some of the differences between what a special counsel now brings to this topic. Talk to us about Robert Hur.
Well, what we know about Robert Hur is that he is a former U.S. attorney, and he was appointed by President Trump. That's also key here. This is not a Biden appointee overseeing something that has to do with Biden. Robert Hur was a U.S. attorney in Maryland, and what's key about that is that the National Security Agency is located in Maryland. So presumably, Robert Hur has plenty of experience overseeing investigations that have to do with classified material. So, you know, his resume definitely looks like he is someone who would be have plenty of experience to be able to oversee further investigation into these classified documents belonging to President Biden. I was on Capitol Hill today and I asked Speaker McCarthy, you know, why he alleges a double standard. We've been hearing that a lot here in Washington, that President Biden had a search warrant executed in Mar-a-Lago and boxes of documents taken, and President Biden is not getting that same treatment. And, you know, when I asked Speaker McCarthy, I said, President Trump, in his case, he had these documents. They were requested by the National Archives, by the Department of Justice over more than a year, and they were not turned over. Do you see any differences between that situation and the situation with President Biden, where, as far as we know, because we may not know the whole thing, but as far as we know, the two cases we know about at the Penn Biden Center and at the Wilmington House, documents that were found were turned over. And Speaker McCarthy said that, there must be equal treatment in this case. He still believe that there is a double standard, and we're still trying to figure out exactly, if there are other places that are being searched, and that will surely be part of the special counsel's investigation.
And to just provide our viewers the latest information on that, Adriana, there is now a statement just released by Special Counsel Hur saying, quote, "I will conduct the assigned investigation with fair, impartial and dispassionate judgment. I intend to follow the facts swiftly and thoroughly," he says, "without fear or favor, and will honor the trust placed in me to perform the service." So that statement just released.
Yeah. So given all that has transpired, I'm just wondering, Adriana, how damaging is the appointment of a special counsel to the White House? We already heard Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday. It seemed like having some difficulty trying to answer reporters' questions. Now, as Errol says, it's been kicked up a notch. For the White House, how are they going to be approaching all of this news?
Well, clearly the optics aren't good, because President Biden has been critical of President Trump's taking and having classified documents in Mar-a-Lago and not returning them. He spoke to Scott Pelley on 60 Minutes, and he said it was very irresponsible. So this certainly gives President Biden's adversary fodder to fuel the fire. And optically, it's not great. Politically, it's not great. But we cannot forget here that we really need to just stick to the facts. And the facts are there is an investigation underway. It could be that the investigation yields nothing, that, or what it yields is, they find evidence of somebody who had sloppy staff work. Perhaps this was an oversight. I spoke to someone in the intelligence world who said, classified documents do get misplaced from time to time or are taken to the wrong place. And, it's not infrequent. They use that word infrequent. But what the special counsel now has to determine is, was this simply an oversight? Was this somebody who, put things in the wrong boxes as they were clearing out of the White House? Or was there intent here? Was there somebody who wanted to take those documents and take them somewhere else? Because where they were supposed to be was the National Archives.
Yeah, and we are now also just getting a statement from the White House counsel saying that they will cooperate with the special counsel investigation. Speaking about sticking to the facts, Adriana, you and your team have brought forward all of this information in that same way, without fear or favor. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.